Hello and welcome. You are looking at Sendgrid.com and we are on the inside of the dashboard and we're looking at the statistics right now. If we were to go into the settings and then we were to go into the mail settings and then we were to look at the event notification, one of the things that was discussed in the basic course was that you can use one HTTP post URL, and currently this is being used by a particular web application. What the web application is not of particular importance, but it's fair to note that this web application requires that you use that webhook. This web application has specific instructions on what you need to do in order to connect to Sendgrid. And this is going to be the case when you're using Sendgrid either as an extension of your web application to send marketing email or to use for transactional email, as is the case with this one called ClickFunnels. Now in this course, we're going to walk through the process of getting set up on a web application. In particular, we're going to work with WordPress, and we're going to show you how to both use WordPress as a membership site or as part of your blog. We're also going to take a look at 3 helpful connections using the web application Zapier. We'll also take a look at some of the advanced aspects of creating new segments, white labeling your domains, and split testing campaigns. And by the time the course is over, you'll be able to set up any WordPress application with Sendgrid as well as use the marketing engine to send out marketing emails. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in the first video. Welcome back. You are now looking at a website created with WordPress.com. Now the WordPress system sends out a number of different notifications and they send them to your inbox. In some cases, those notifications will be visible to you or your client and they'll be right in the box where all of your email tends to come. In other cases, those emails will go to inboxes or spam boxes where you might not know that it came and you might not know the contents of it. Now the default settings for WordPress do not give you any options in terms of changing the way you deliver your email or for you to be able to increase the likelihood that your emails will be delivered. And this is why you can control the way the mail is sent through plugins like Sendgrid and other email senders. So in the next few videos, we're going to show you how you can get around this factor of WordPress and ensure deliverability of those WordPress emails, in addition to any third-party application that uses the WordPress system in order to send emails. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in the next video. Welcome back. You're now looking at the inside of a WordPress installation. And one of the things you'll notice about this WordPress installation is that it has a membership plugin installed. That membership plugin is called Wishlist Member. And like most membership plugins, it utilizes the existing system for email that's already native inside of the WordPress installation. Therefore, when you take a membership related action, such as adding a member to a specific product, as we're going to do right here, and we'll click go, this individual would then be part of a product and they would get notification to their email address. That notification would be sent by the membership plugin, but it would use the existing WordPress system. Now the way the membership scripts work around this is to give you access to your autoresponder to connect to the membership plugin to use its email system. However, you still don't have a case where as soon as a person takes an action, they change their password, that they're going to get an email immediately. And that we want to be able to rectify. So in the next video, we're going to start the process by installing a new plugin so that we can bring in Sendgrid to help us with this problem. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now in this video, we are going to install the Sendgrid plugin. But before we do that, we want to take a look and determine why this is going to be necessary. If we go into a user's profile and we were to click this link that says send reset password link to the user, we'd want to be able to hit this button and have the individual see this link and see their login and password pretty much right away. So let's go ahead and click this link. And the problem is that while we have the initial setup username and password, we don't have a password reset that this individual is receiving. That means then that we need to do something to make sure that this email is going to be delivered. So we're going to start the process by clicking Plugins, and then we're going to click Add New. And we're going to write in here to Sendgrid, and we're going to click Enter and search. What you'll notice is that there are a couple of plugins available to us. There's the Sendgrid plugin and Sendgrid SMTP. Now you'll notice that this plugin says Update Now, and that's really because this plugin has already been installed on this particular WordPress website. However, you'll probably see the Install Now button. And what you'll do is you'll click that Install Now button so that you can activate the plugin. Once you've installed the plugin, you can either come to the plugin section or you can do it right there on the screen. You can click Activate. Now you'll verify that that's been installed, and what you'll do then is you'll go to the settings area, and then you'll just verify that Sendgrid is working by clicking Sendgrid. And then you should come into a screen that requests some information from you. And then we will make this information available. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Now by default, when you have the Sendgrid plugin installed, you'll note that it'll say that you need Swift in order to send via SMTP. Now in most cases we're going to be working with the API, but you may run into a situation with your host or in any third-party application where you may very well need to send by SMTP. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to find the Swift plugin and we're going to install it. So we're going to go to this plugin area and click Add New, and when we get to the Add New screen, we're going to write in Swift. Now typically you'll see a result here. It says Swift Mailer. If you want to write in the word mailer, you can. It'll come closer to the top, and then you can click Install Now. Once the plugin has been installed, you can then click Activate. You'll then want to verify that Swift Mailer is then part of your plugin library. And then when you go back to the Sendgrid installation, you'll notice then that you have a choice. You can then send mail by API, or you can also send by SMTP. And so now that you have both options, we're now ready to start working with our Sendgrid account. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now in the basic course, we set up a brand new Sendgrid account. However, throughout the course, you also saw that in the event notification area, it's quite possible that you could have a very specific application for your HTTP post URL, which does bring some limitations to your Sendgrid account. You also recall that there is a very specific two-factor authorization in order to become part of the account. One thing that was not discussed is that you will have the opportunity to add teammates to a particular account, giving them access to do research and make certain changes to your Sendgrid account. We can very easily use different API keys where we're using one Sendgrid account even though they have multiple functions. However, there is a case for setting up a separate Sendgrid account for a specific installation or specific application you're using on the web. Giving teammates access to certain levels of statistics as well as access to customers is a good idea as long as it's limited to those that you want them to be able to see. If that's the case, the sensible thing to do would be to open a separate account with separate teammates and separate reputation and access. And while you can't create a second account with an email you're already using, you can create as many accounts as you feel you need to in order to get the maximum deliverability and keep the data secure. And so in this case, we will work with the brand new account that was just created in order to work with this WordPress installation. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, when possible, we want to be able to use our API key in order to connect to Sendgrid. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go and get an API key from our Sendgrid account. We're going to place it inside of this dialog box, and then we're going to scroll down and we're going to update our settings to save. And to get that API key, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the settings area. We're going to click API keys. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click Create API Key. And then we're going to give full access to the key. We're going to give that key a name. We are going to click Create and View. You're going to want to have some place to put this down. If you have a password manager, you want to put it in there. You're going to copy the link. And then you're going to click Done. Now, obviously, for the sake of this video, this API key has been blurred out. So we're now going to click Done, and now we're going to head back to our WordPress installation. And once you've entered the API key in, you want to make sure you've got your API dialog selected, and then you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you're going to click Update Settings. Now once we have the information saved, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and we're going to send a test email. So we're going to write in an email, we're going to write in a subject and a body, and then we're going to click Send. The Sendgrid plugin will tell us that the email has been sent. We can now see the product inside of our inbox. We can then open it, and there is our message. So now that we have the plugin installed, we can send third-party emails to an inbox through our WordPress installation. So what we want to do now is look at our transactional templates. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now the Sendgrid plugin will allow you to use the transactional templates that we discussed in the basic course without custom coding. What we'll need in order to use those templates is the template ID. And so we'll come into our account. We will click Transactional Template, and you'll notice that there is an ID that we can use then inside of our plugin. So for the sake of this process, we will create a new template. We'll give that template a name, and then we'll click Save. We'll then add a version of the template. We will use the design editor and then click Continue. We're going to create our template settings. We're then going to save the template. And then we're going to go to the build area. So we've now built our template. We're now going to click Save. We're going to go back outside of the templates. Now what we're going to do is to get our template ID. And we're going to head back to our WordPress installation. We are going to enter our template ID. We're then going to update our settings. And then we're going to send another test email. Once we have our test email written, we're then going to click Send. Sendgrid will alert us that our email was sent. So in opening up our email, you'll notice all of the elements from our template. So this means then that all you'll need to do is to customize your template. You'll want to make sure it looks the way you want. You can go back and make changes once you've seen the test, and then you'll be able to use it in all of your transactional email. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Hello and welcome. Now in this video, we're going to be discussing white labeling. And if you were looking at the email, if we were to open up the details, what you'll notice is that even though this email is being sent through Sendgrid, we actually have our domain. And you'll see that these are the domains that we set up through Sendgrid. And again, Sendgrid does this so that it will increase the opportunity for us to make sure that our emails are going to inbox. And when we went through the white labeling process, what we did was we took the information that we were given And we took this information and we went back to the host and we asked them to install these in the right places. However, it's possible that your host will not do this service for you, so you're going to have to make sure to do this yourself, and you're going to need to do it through your cPanel hosting or your Softaculous hosting. So now that we have this information visible, we're going to walk back through the same process as if we needed to put this information into our host without the use of a virtual private server. So the first thing we would do is to go back to our cPanel hosting or Softaculous hosting. Now what you're going to do when you're inside of cPanel is you're going to come down into the zone editor. You'll see that right here. Once you click the zone editor, what you're going to do is you're going to click CNAME record. Now you have two dialog boxes, name and CNAME. Now in all three cases, the name is going to be this host, and you want to copy and paste this. You don't want to try to write this down because it has to be exact. The CNAME is going to be the data. So again, what you want to do is you want to copy these into the CNAME dialog box. Now because this has already been added, we're not going to add this for the sake of this video, but this is what you would have in each instance as you add it to your zone editor. Once you've added all three, then what you're going to do is you're going to look to go through the validation process. Now again, this one is already done, but what you're going to do is click this validate record button, and then that's going to tell you whether or not your content in the dialog boxes has been validated. And once it has, you are then ready to begin sending with Sendgrid. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. If you have ever read a marketing email, you'll notice that many of the links are going to be tracked with a tracking link. And we can tell it's a tracking link if we hover over the link. You'll see at the very bottom of this video a tracking link. And if we hover over any of the links, you'll see an individual URL designed to track the clicks. Now Sendgrid gives you the ability to control how that link's going to appear inside of your email. So for example, if we click this add white label, Sendgrid will actually tell you what the email link white label does. It increases deliverability because those links are then changed to something that looks like your domain. That's why you want them to be white labeled as your domain was. If we go inside of this link and we click the view button, what we'll notice is that there is a host name and a data name. And if you don't have your host doing this work for you, you are going to need to have this information placed inside of your DNS, and you do that in the very same way using the zone editor again. The host column is going to be the name. The data column is going to be the CNAME. So what you're going to do with each row is you're going to put this information into your cPanel as a CNAME record. And then you're going to come back, hit the validate record button so that you'll confirm that your links are then valid. Once they are validated, you are then ready to begin sending with Sendgrid. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We can use the Sendgrid plugin to collect names and email addresses into our Sendgrid autoresponder with some of the features we've seen. So look closer, we'll go into the settings, we'll now go into Sendgrid. And this time, instead of looking solely at the general area, we are going to go over to the subscription widget. We go over to that subscription widget, what we're going to need is the API key from our Sendgrid account. So we're going to go into our settings. We're going to get our API keys. We're going to create an API key. We're going to give that key full access. And then we're going to create the API key. We're now going to copy the key. It's obviously blurred out for the sake of this video. And then we're going to click Done. Now that we have our API key, we're going to head back to our WordPress installation. And we're going to add our API key into this dialog box. We'll then determine if we want the first and last name fields and for them to be required. We can either leave these checked or unchecked, whatever is our preference. You'll see that we've got default emails that are already set up. And once we have everything here, we can then click Update Settings. What we're going to do then is going to go to our Appearance. We're then going to go to the Widget section. We get to the Widget section. You'll notice that we have a widget area and we have a Sendgrid subscription widget. And for the sake of this video, we're just going to pull that subscription widget all the way to the top of our WordPress site. And we're just going to use the default settings. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at our site with the new subscription widget. And what you see now is that we have our subscription widget here on the page, and we can begin collecting names and email addresses into our Sendgrid account so that we can begin using it for marketing email. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, if you are already using WordPress, it's possible that you'll want to move some of the users that are already part of your site into your new autoresponder. And to do that, you're going to need to export them into a CSV file. Now, the export command in WordPress only exports content. So in order to export users, we're going to need to find a plugin. So we're going to go to Add New Plugin. We're then going to write in Export Users. And then there's a plugin here called Export Users to CSV. We will be able to use that. We're going to click Install Now. We're then going to click Activate. We're then going to come into our Users category. We're then going to highlight those users that we want to export in our list. Then we're going to click Export Users. Then you'll notice now that we now have users available to export. We're going to click Users. We're going to, in this case, export all of the roles. We're going to have a start date and an end date. And then we're going to click Download Export File. Now, in order to use for Sendgrid, we're going to need to have our content in a certain format. And that means then we're going to have to delete some of the columns. Now, once we've cleaned up our CSV, we'll be able to use our email address, first name and last name. We can then save the file. And then we can head on to Sendgrid. We're then going to go to our contacts. We're then going to click Add Contacts. We're going to upload our CSV. We're going to grab that CSV from our hard drive. We're then going to go to our custom fields. If your fields are all assigned, then you are ready to go to the next step. Now, once your list is complete, you'll have all of your contacts then inside of Sendgrid. You will then be ready to begin sending to these individuals. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. What you're going to be able to do now is you're going to be able to create segments as we did in the basic course. And we're going to start by clicking Create Segment. And we're going to give our segment a name. Now this time we're going to add a condition. And then we're going to click Save Segment. So we now have one segment. We can create a second segment. We can add a different condition. And then we'll click Save Segment. And we now have our second segment. So now what you're able to do within campaigns is you're able to use different segments based on different characteristics of particular names on your contact list. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Hello and welcome. Now in this video, we're going to start the process of working through split tests. And we're going to start by clicking the campaigns button. and we're going to click Create a Campaign. We're going to use the blank template and then click Continue. We're going to click the Design Editor and then click Continue. We're going to give our campaign a name. Once we have our basic campaign settings, we're going to save. And then we're going to click this fourth tab, and it's going to be the A/B testing tab. What we're going to do is we're going to turn on A/B testing. In this case, we're going to test the subject line, so we're going to vary the subject line. And then we're going to determine which version wins. So we can determine that the email that has the highest open rate, that'll be the winner, or the click rate, or the manual rate. Now for this email, we're going to choose the open rate. And then we're going to click Save Draft. And once we complete the look of the email, as well as the tags, we are then ready to send this campaign. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the recipients. We're going to send to specific segments. In particular, we're going to send to the admin segment. And we're going to use our general unsubscribe group. Finally, we can choose to send our email immediately, or we can choose to send one when we schedule it. But we are now ready to begin testing our email for the subject line using open rate as a criteria for determining which one did best. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now there are other aspects to A/B testing inside of Sendgrid, and we're still inside of the email that we are split testing. And if you look at the test type, the second kind of test you can run is if you vary the content. And when you vary the content, you can determine how many versions you're going to have. So example, if you want to have 4 different versions of the content, and then you're going to have a certain percentage of the emails going to each one of these size segments. When you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to see the segments show up here at the top. And so you have segment A open, where you're going to put your content. You would then click on segment B, and you'd put content in segment B. You would then put your content in segment C. Then you'd put content in segment D. You can also vary the sample size. So example, if you wanted to have all 100% of the emails in a certain segment delivered and part of the test, you can move this up to 90%, and basically you're going to have all 4 segments adding up to 90%. The winning version is going to be 10. You can run the test for a certain period of time. When you're doing a content test, you can make it for 24 hours if you want. And basically you have a way of determining and tracking whether or not one email did better than another. Of course, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to vary the links that you have in here that people are clicking, so you'll know which email sent the effective traffic. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Sendgrid can extend even further than WordPress when you consider that you can integrate it with a third-party app called Zapier. Zapier combines 2 web applications that typically don't have a direct integration to do things that will be common practices in both apps. So for example, if we write in the name Sendgrid, we've already done that here, so that we can look to find out which applications actually work with Sendgrid. And you'll notice that there are applications with Google Sheets, Facebook, MailChimp, and others. Now, if you currently don't have a Zapier account, you can go to Google and you can search for Sendgrid Integrations with Zapier. And if you go inside of that link, you'll be able to see at a glance all of the applications that integrate with Sendgrid. And you'll see here that we can scroll through them fairly quickly and get a sense for which ones we can use in our existing business. Now, there are 3 in particular that we are going to explore: Sendgrid and PayPal, Sendgrid and Surveymonkey, and Sendgrid and Shopify. Now, obviously, you can explore the app further to find out which integrations you can use along with Sendgrid. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, you can do a limited number of applications with Zapier as long as they don't have the premium logo. You can use them as part of the free plan. So as you begin to look for applications that work with Sendgrid, if you see the premium sign, you may want to go ahead and subscribe. If not, you can set up the Zap, and then you can determine how often you're going to be using it. Now in this case, the second app we're going to be looking for is going to be PayPal, and it's a premium app. So we're going to click PayPal, and what you'll notice is that there's one connection between Sendgrid and PayPal. So assuming that you have either a trial of Zapier or you have the $15 level, you can click Use this Zap. Now the connection is that you make a sale through PayPal, and what you want to do is then you want to have an email sent to them through Sendgrid. And so we can do that through Zapier. So what we're going to do first is we're going to click Create this Zap, and we're going to start by connecting to PayPal. Now for the sake of testing, we're going to click Silent Mode, and we're going to copy this Zapier webhook to our clipboard, and we're going to continue forward. And what we need to do now is we need to place this URL inside of PayPal. Now the webhook is going to go into your instant payment notification settings inside of PayPal. So what you're going to do then is once you have placed it inside of the dialog box, you'll then click Save. You'll then want to click Fetch and Continue. You should be able to have a successful test. You'll then click Continue. And so now we'll need to connect to Sendgrid, so we'll click Continue. We'll now connect our Sendgrid account. Once you have your sample information in, you can then click Continue. You can then send your test to Sendgrid. Once you have a successful test, you can then click Finish, and then your Zap will be turned on. So what you've set up is that when you have a successful test at PayPal, you can then have an email sent to the individual through Zapier through Sendgrid. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now in this video, we're going to talk about a helpful connection between Sendgrid and Surveymonkey. And basically, what you'll be allowed to do once you connect the two applications is to send an email for every new response on Surveymonkey. So to get started, we're going to click Use this Zap once we have selected Sendgrid and Surveymonkey. And basically, this is a way of thanking the individuals that actually took the survey. So we're going to click Create this Zap, and we're going to start with a Surveymonkey trigger. So in other words, a survey answer from Surveymonkey is going to be the thing to set the Zap in motion. We're going to click Continue, and then we're going to connect our Surveymonkey account. We're going to authorize Surveymonkey and Zapier, and we are already logged into Surveymonkey to make it easier. So once we have our Surveymonkey account connected, we're then going to click Save and Continue. And now we're going to select a survey. And we're going to select one of our available surveys. What we're going to do now is we're going to click Continue. And then we're going to click Fetch and Continue. What we're going to do now is we're going to click Sendgrid Action and click Send Email. We're going to use our existing connected Sendgrid account. We're going to click Save and Continue. And now we're going to set up the email. Once we have our answers, we'll then click Continue. And then we'll send the test to Sendgrid. And once we have a successful test, we can then click Finish. And in order to activate this, you will need a paid plan of Surveymonkey. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Now you can also connect Sendgrid to Shopify. Although you don't have a direct connection through Shopify, you can connect through Zapier. And so to get started, we're going to click Use this Zap. And basically, when a customer makes a purchase on your Shopify store, Zapier is going to send that customer a transactional email. So what we're going to do is click Create this Zap. We're then going to click the Shopify trigger, and we're now going to connect our Shopify account. We're going to connect our store and then click Continue. Shopify will then tell you that they are about to install the app for Zapier. And then your Shopify store will be connected. You'll then click Save and Continue. You'll then be setting up a Shopify paid order. You'll then click Continue. Now, if you're testing and you don't have an existing paid order, you may need to skip this step. But we're now going to click Fetch and Continue. So because we're in the testing phase, we're going to skip the test and continue. We're now going to click Continue. And then we're going to set up our Sendgrid. So we're going to click Continue. We have our existing Sendgrid account, so we're now going to click Save and Continue. So once you have the test information in, you're then going to scroll down and click Continue. And then you'll send the final test to Sendgrid. Once your email has been successfully sent, you can then click Finish. And then your Zap will be turned on. And every time that you make a sale from your Shopify store, the individual will be sent an email through Zapier from Sendgrid. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. In conclusion, in this course, we worked extensively with WordPress as well as a membership site within WordPress called Wishlist Member. Now, most of the features of Wishlist Member will exist in any WordPress-based membership script. We also looked at the Sendgrid connection to the web-based app ClickFunnels, which connects through SMTP instead of the API as it does through WordPress. We also, through Zapier, connected to a Shopify e-commerce platform to send transactional email. We discovered that there was a way for you to build your list using WordPress and Sendgrid without having to know any coding. Now, it's quite possible that you may want to use a different kind of membership script, such as the one called a member, which depends on PHP and HTML. And that's the case, a connection to Sendgrid is through the API, and it's very simple, as you can see here on screen. And you are now ready to use Sendgrid in any way to connect, whether you want to connect through WordPress, cloud-based, or an HTML setting. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I'll see you either in another video or in another course.